Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride. Professor, are you ready, sir?
Let's go!
Like a gentleman. All right, YouTube. Let's get this podcast launched like a rocket.
Lost my power. We need more power.
You good?
Yes.
In 3.
Welcome to SuperTalk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode number 75. I'm your host, Brian Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, is my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella. Titanium, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Professor.
Yeah, it was a very, very awesome weekend, and I hope all the fathers out there had a great weekend with their families and celebrate existing on this earth and being appreciated by the ones that love you. That it was a really, really good weekend.
My message is a little deep. I hope all the boys out there got to do what they wanted to do.
Right. A lot of my friends said, unfortunately, what I wanted for Father's Day was to play golf on Mother's Day. But,
That makes sense, right? That'll get you in a lot of trouble, but...
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, happy Father's Day to everybody out there, and thanks for listening, thanks for watching. So,
all right, well, we got a lot to get into this week.
Yeah.
So first, we want to thank the listeners that bring the show to you. Those are our patrons. Patreon.com/SuperTalk. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, all it takes is $1 an episode. You donate to the show. Every time we come on that episode, you donate $1. Say, hey, we like what SuperTalk does. We're happy to hear them every week. We'd be happy to give them $1 for this. So if you'd like to become a patron, Patreon.com/SuperTalks. And thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks. Support the show, people.
All right. So into the review section here. Ms. Marvel episode 2 came out last week. And, I actually think it was better than the first episode. I liked it a little bit better. They are progressing things a little bit. Definitely moving the plot forward, creating some tension, introducing some new characters. What did you think?
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it.
And I have a feeling I know why. But go ahead. I'd love to hear why you didn't like it.
Oh, I want to know why you think I didn't like it first.
No.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
Again, she is adorable. I think she's such a cute little actress, and she was born to play this part. I just think the Miss Marvel character is underwhelmed. It's basically, I don't know. It's a teen coming of age story, a high school teen coming of age story that she just happens to have superpowers, and I think it's underwhelming.
They do seem to be minimizing the fact that she's got freaking superpowers a little bit, right?
Yeah. Well, are they superpowers? Or the power set bothers me a lot too.
Yeah.
The hard light power set kind of bothers me. And again, the characters are they brought in a new character now, this kid that she's got this massive crush on.
Well, I won't say new character, but two more prominent characters. Not uncommon that the second episode gets a little bit deeper into some of the other characters in the show, because oftentimes the first episode's like the pilot episode, and some of the ancillary actors that may have been cast in other supporting roles may not have been around for the pilot, or maybe they weren't there when the pilot was filmed. And so we got introduced to a couple of newer characters this week that definitely are fitting into the plot a little bit. But we got a lot more background into some of the other things that are going on around her as well. That's happening. Yeah,
I mean, the culture thing again is being pushed very heavy, and I guess I don't mind it as much this episode, which is kind of weird, but I don't, because it gives you her background and the struggles that she has being a Muslim girl growing up in that world. So I kind of didn't bother me as much. I understand they have to focus on that as the first Muslim superhero, which is great. I don't mind that, but to have it like the forefront of the story, I think is a little overwhelming and doesn't need to be told that much. But that didn't bother me as much.
You mentioned that last week, that I'll say that the effort of the production to make the Muslim community and culture a very big part of this show was something that kind of took away from the show from your perspective.
Yeah.
And if you didn't like it in the first episode, well, this episode was all about the Muslim culture, right?
Yeah. And I guess it kind of pushed the story forward because you see what she has to go through as a Muslim American, and how her culture and how the American culture kind of bangs head a little bit, and she has that conflict of dealing with both sides of it, So I thought that was kind of interesting. It didn't bother me as much, even though it was very prominent in this. It's kind of like the series Luke Cage, where the director of Luke Cage, the writer of Luke Cage, said that I want to make Harlem a character in this thing. I said, it didn't need to be a character. Like, focus on Luke Cage. Focus. That's what people are coming to see the show. They're not coming to see, this show or this city or this aspect or this culture or that culture. They want to see the characters, develop the characters, and tell a good story. And notwithstanding. So I love her. I think she's fantastic. And I love the graphics, like the way the graffiti moves and tells a story behind the story. I think that's really cool. But again, I didn't like this episode at all.
Yeah, I think it seems to me, and I don't know if this is a movement from Disney on down, Marvel on down, Kevin Feige on down, or a very concerted effort amongst the writers and directors of this show, who happen to be Muslim as well, to really educate people about the culture. And I think...
Yeah, you're right. I think that's what they're doing. You're right, Professor.
And I for several reasons. One, as you mentioned before, this is the first Muslim superhero.
Yeah.
And so they want the fact that she is Muslim to be a big part of her. They want that to be part of her story.
Yeah.
But, Muslims have been misrepresented in this country for many, many, many years. There are, like there are with any culture, a few bad apples have really made Muslims out to be bad people in general, where there are loving, caring, family-driven, religious Muslims out there that are just wonderful human beings. And I think to bring that side of the culture to the screen is fantastic. And I think it's very important because I think Americans, especially after 9/11, couldn't help but demonize the Muslim culture to some extent. And I think that was a big disservice to that culture.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think so what they're doing on the show is important. And I think there's some value to it. And I think to bring some color to that culture is very, very important for the direction of this character and the show specifically. That being said, they are spending a lot of time doing it, and I think they are missing out on some of the opportunities to develop the individual characters and the story of her as well because of it. A good example would be, Oscar Isaac, portrayed Stephen Grant in Moon Knight, and he was Jewish,
right? And
we literally probably saw 5 to 10 minutes of his Judaism in the show when he went home and for his mother's funeral, and he's wearing the yarmulke. So we kind of knew that, but it wasn't like that was a big focus of the show, nor was it a big premise. I just think I do believe they can do, and hopefully it does lessen a little bit as the show moves forward.
And you can say with Moon Knight the Egyptian culture as well, right? That they kind of hinted
but
on.
But it was just weaved into the story.
It was weaved into the story.
It wasn't like force-fed to us.
Yeah.
So, I understand what they're trying to do and why they're doing it. I think there is extreme value in that. And unfortunately, you and I and a lot of other Americans just don't know that much about this culture. So I think to really fully understand the character, maybe they felt it was important for us to get the culture.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of that this episode. We saw her in the mosque and with her best friend, who is what's her name?
Bruna?
Nakia.
Nakia.
Not Nakia or Nakia. Yeah. So that was a new character that we got introduced to this week.
we saw her in the high school the first episode.
Yeah, but she didn't really have much speaking roles in the first episode. But
we don't know Bruno's background either, his whole story.
No, but he's very entwined in the family, and
he's definitely got a crush on Kamala.
Oh,
right?
well, there's no question they're setting that up, right? He's the best friend who's jealous of all the other boys, right? But Nakia is definitely she's now decided to run for a board position in the mosque, which is unheard of for a female in that culture, especially. So that was a big thing of kind of trying to promote women's rights within the Muslim community, which is also a big problem in that community as well. So they focus a lot of time on that. But we did get a lot of culture.
And for some reason, it didn't bother me this episode as much. I think it's very forced and it's in your face a lot, but it didn't bother me as much. I just think the story is slow, and the way she saved that boy in that one scene was boring. Think about it. She's this, and I know she's learning her superpowers. But think about when Spider-Man got his superpowers, how cool that was, how he was figuring all that out. This is just kind of boring.
It was you made a great analogy there. Is when Spider-Man first got his powers, and this is back in the Tobey Maguire.
They're really, and the reason why I bring that up, Professor, is they're really trying to compare, Kamala Khan is just like Peter Parker.
Right.
This is the same story, just different culture, and it's not.
But that was one of the best scenes in that original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man film, was him getting these powers and then leaping off of rooftops and trying to figure out, what he could do, and what are the limits, and how am I supposed to do all these things? And that we kind of saw that. We got a little bit of that in the first part of this episode, where her and Bruno are up on a roof and they're trying to figure out, how does this actually work? And he's using his computers to kind of analyze her. And one of the things that we find out is that, it looks like your powers are coming from you, but the trinket, or whatever, the armband or wrist bangle or whatever they're calling it, all it's doing is like directing it. It's not what is you're the one creating these hard light projections.
Right.
The bangle is just actually kind of directing it and focusing it. So that's an interesting kind of thing. And again, there's some theories out there around we believe the Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan in the comic books, is an Inhuman, and she went through Terrigenesis. So she, there was a Terrigen bomb that was, let out in New York City.
She inhaled the mist. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Terrigen mist, and since she already had Kree blood in her, she, the Terrigen, she went through Terrigenesis, which gets you into a cocoon, and then when you come out of that cocoon, you have, you've now gone through Terrigenesis, and you're a full Inhuman. And we heard that they weren't doing that. That being said, there's some theories out there that what she's been going through here, that hard light that kind of surrounds her and goes over her, is a version of Terrigenesis. That this is her powers are actually within her. They're part of her, DNA, and all this bangle, the bracelet is just
enhancing it.
It's just bringing it out over time. And so, again, the directors have hinted at that what we're seeing, these hard light projections and these hard light constructs that she's making, are not the final version of her powers. So at the end of the show, it may be very different. But that being said, frankly, Titanium, they're taking Green Lantern's powers and basically putting it in a Marvel superhero. That's what it is.
Basically,
they're mental images.
Instead of a ring, it's a bracelet.
Right, they're mental images that are being projected as hard light-based objects, and that's exactly what Green Lantern does.
Yeah. The graphics are still very cool. I love that. She's adorable, like I said 100 times, and I'm going to stick with it, obviously, because we're going to review it. And I like watching her. I think she's fun to watch. But the story is super boring. You
didn't like the introduction of the love interest of Cameron.
Boring.
The dreamy senior transfer who just showed up at the school all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And and he somewhat has an interest in her for some reason. And
letting her drive his 95,000 Porsche or Maserati or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on. It's
hey, we should hang out more, and all of a sudden, it's
I'll teach you to drive here with my $90,000 uncle's car.
And we find out why at the end of the episode, but and again, we we got to see at the kind of Muslim community festival that they went to kind of the real reason they were there was to garner some influence over some of the voting population amongst the mosque members, so that her friend Nakia could get votes to be on this board. Yeah. And the different communities of individuals that are part of the mosque, and that was kind of cool. It was interesting to see all that. And then a boy is falling out of a steeple. He's taking a selfie of himself.
Give me a break.
Oh, and I don't know if you noticed the Easter egg that like her friend Nakia's shoes were stolen from the mosque, and I guess shoes have been missing here in the first 2 episodes. Well, the boy was wearing the shoes that were missing from the mosque. Yeah, so I guess that he's the shoe thief, supposedly. I don't know. I didn't slow-mo or anything, but that's something I read. But he's falling out of a window. He's hanging by this window of this steeple, and she has to put her costume on. And they call her Nightlight, I guess is her nickname, Nightlight. And she uses her powers to kind of, the things that she's been practicing of creating these hard light steps that she can kind of walk up and grab him. Ultimately, she ends up saving him very clumsily. At one point, she catches him, but then this vision comes to her through her kind of powers, a very strong image of a woman kind of reaching out to her, and it kind of distracts her, and the boy falls, and she ends up having to catch him again. But she does save him. But then everybody wants her...
Well, he falls onto the hood of a car. He's alive, but he's pretty...
Well, he fell on the hood of the car slowly, because she saved him, right? Yeah, but... and then, of course, damage control, which the Department of Damage Control, which we saw in Spider-Man No Way Home, we saw in the post-credit scene after Episode 1, is now hunting her. And we saw the robot units that they had in Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah,
were actually after her, and she was like destroying them and kind of breaking them down. And she's running away from Damage Control, who's after her, and who saves her? But Cameron in his nice car. Oh, come on, get in! Somehow knows who she is in her costume. Surprise. And then we find out in the back seat is his mother, who's been looking for her.
Yeah, she's the one she's having visions of.
And that was the person that was in the vision that she saw. So there's obviously a story behind the mother, and maybe there's some family history there. We'll find out in the next episode. Yeah, we don't know anything else. But I agree with you, Titanium. I just want them to move this forward. I do want to see where they're going with this. We've seen scenes in the trailer of her new costume and the classic Ms. Marvel costume, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that and how she gets it and where she goes, with her powers from here. And the Cameron character in the comic books is actually a bad dude, so he's an Inhuman as well. So I don't know where they're going with that.
Dagger, right?
He's kind of got...
fighting skills.
Well, but his powers are very similar to the powers that she has right now. He can create solid objects out of light. So I mean, it's just kind of weird that's his powers in the comics. So
we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, we'll see. But
I didn't like it though. I wasn't.
Well, you and I, Titan, we've said this from the beginning,
day one.
We're not sure if this is our kind of show, but we're watching it, and it's a Marvel character who does have a future in the MCU, so we'll see where kind of that goes over time.
I hope it. I love her, but I just hope the story goes somewhere a little bit.
And they're obviously doing a love triangle between Bruno. Like Bruno's obviously in love with her, and that teen unrequited love. You're my best friend, but I really secretly love you. Type of thing, right?
It's worked 1,000,000 times. Why not?
Right. Exactly. Ross and Rachel all over again.
That's
right?
it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I will say this about it. I did see that this is the least watched show on Disney Plus. So out of Loki's number one, I believe Moon Knight, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, those Disney Plus Marvel shows. WandaVision up there as well. But then Hawkeye, and then this one. And the difference between Hawkeye and this one is a huge drop.
You mentioned you were reaching out to
all the young kids,
the younger generation, to find out
my
if they
daughter,
were watching
all
it.
Their friends, a girl, several Muslim girls that I know that are in high school. None of them have watched it. A bunch of my friends that are
I asked my son, I said, have you started watching it yet? And he said, no, nobody's really talking about it, so I haven't even checked it out.
Yeah. I mean, some of my Pakistani friends, I reached out to them and their daughters, and I was like, "Hey, what do you think of the show? Have you?" Well, I said, "No, not really. I don't know if I'm going to."
Yeah,
I'm like,
they did kind of talk through some of the, which is very interesting history. The kind of the division of India back in the day, right? So India split into two countries. So Pakistan and India at one point in time were one country, and Pakistan eventually split off because of a civil war. So they kind of talked through that. It seems like her family has history in that, and the reason why they ended up in Pakistan, and her great grandmother is, of course, probably the person who used this bangle in the past or whatever. And so I'm sure we'll get some more information about that.
Is that her great grandmother that was in the car with that kid?
No. Well, I
That's
doubt
his
it.
mom.
That's his mom. He said
That's
it was
what
his
says
mother,
his mom.
right? But the great grandmother is the one that all those women were talking about in
the Illuminati.
Circle. Yeah. In a circle, they were talking about her. But her grandmother was the one she was having the phone conversation with on. But I think she was the remember the daughter said she was lost on a train, but then she had to follow these like trails of light to kind of get back, and that obviously the great grandmother knew how to make this trail of light for her to follow or whatever. So I'm sure we'll get some of that through the rest of the show. To your point, Titanium, I'm watching it. I can't say that every Wednesday I'm just like, oh my god, I can't wait to watch Ms. Marvel this week.
The Boys.
Unlike The Boys. We'll get there. All right, well, let's get into our news section, which we've got a bunch of crazy stuff that happened this week. All right, well, it is official. Amber Heard has officially been fired by DC on Aquaman 2.
Wow.
This is a huge announcement. We anticipated something was happening. There were rumors that this was in the works. There were discussions that this was going to happen. This came out during the trial, the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, that she was still under contract. She had filled all her scenes, but the studio behind the scenes was cutting her out of some of the movie and potentially diminishing her role in the movie, and so she was complaining about that during the trial. But we were all anticipating that maybe they were just kind of drawing down her role in the movie a little bit and kind of minimizing it. Well, what happened was DC decided to do some test screenings of Aquaman 2 in front of some test audiences, and they all hated her.
Yeah.
With a passion. So the disdain.
I believe there were boos in this.
When she would show up on the screen, they were booing.
Yeah.
And the disdain that she wrought during this movie, and so the fear of the studio is that people will avoid this movie because she's in it. And not only just go to the movie despite her being in it and boo when she shows up.
Blast it on reviews and social media.
Yeah, they were like openly booing in the theater, and so they were like...
So when they fire her, did they cut her completely out of the movie?
They are in the midst of massive reshoots to basically... So they're talking about recasting the character and reshooting every one of her scenes.
Wow.
Right.
With a new character.
With a new actress.
With a new actress. Okay.
So that's how bad it's
Any word on who the new actress is?
No. And we can't surmise that this is the case, but this movie has been substantially delayed. It was supposed to come out at the end of this year, and now it's pushed back to the middle of next year. So they have time to do these reshoots. And I think her scenes in the movie were being diminished anyway. And again, some of the other things they were complaining about was, I guess during the trial, she was leaking like parts of the plot, during the trial.
Oh.
Like stuff like, well, there's a baby. Nobody knows there's a baby in the movie, but there's a baby. And we're like, oh my God, are you kidding? I'm sure DC was just like, get out of it. Yeah, cringing. So, not surprising, but she will be recast. The role will be recast and her scenes will be reshot. You had mentioned earlier, well, they'll probably still pay her. I'm sure contractually they have some obligation to pay her.
Yeah.
But, they can't have her in this movie. I mean, people would avoid the movie because she was in it, and that's what they figured out.
Well, that's interesting, and I know it's on the news as well. But let's kind of, because it's very similar, right? The Ezra Miller situation. Now, they have to have him in that movie. So, what do you do there, Professor? I mean, what do you?
Well, so what Titanium's alluding to, there have been
the Flash movie.
Number of industry insiders who have reported that Ezra Miller is being fired by DC as the Flash. Now
that is official.
It's it's a different story though.
Okay.
The story there is that the movie is moving forward as is, but he will not be involved in that role in any future DC projects.
Okay.
Right? So very different from Amber Heard. This is not a star of a movie, it's a co-star. That was a co-star.
Okay.
Ezra Miller is the star of the Flash movie, right? And he, as we saw during the kind of sneak trailers that we got during DC Fandom, there's multiple versions of him in that movie, right? And he's playing multiple roles in that movie. They are not starting from scratch and reshooting the entire movie and casting a new actor to play that role. The movie's still coming out, and he's still in that movie. Will he be promoting that movie?
Probably not.
Probably not. Will he be part of the road show, and will he be at the premiere? Maybe not. Now, what they've opened in this so this is official now, right? DC came
Awkward.
out, and that the movie's coming out. And it's a very important movie for the future of the DCEU. However, Ezra Miller will not be attached to any projects going forward.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't say my heart's broken because I just never saw him as the Flash anyway.
Yeah, you never liked him.
Look, you can be quirky in Hollywood. You can be quirky. You can be kind of a strange Jared Leto's a great example. He's a strange dude.
Sure he is.
Very strange dude. A method actor.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Strange
Doesn't get any weirder.
Right. These guys are very strange people, but you can invest yourself and embed yourself in a character in a movie and do very well and portray that character as well as you can on the screen. But those people, even as strange as they are, do not go off and do stupid things outside, and just like their normal social lives to kind of just alienate so many people. And that's what Ezra Miller's done. I mean, He's just, and look, I don't want to diminish, I'm sure there's a little bit of a mental health aspect here with Ezra Miller, and whether it's substance related or not, I don't know. But he does, it seems like he's struggling mentally with a lot of things. And look, we've got a major mental health problem in this country, and I don't want to diminish that. I hope he does get some help. That being said, it seems like to me they've made a decision that this is not the direction we want for this character. And again, I believe you and I feel the same way.
No love loss.
This is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
And I believe this character deserves to be portrayed a certain way and deserves justice. I mean, it's been portrayed on television a couple of times now. By two really good actors who I felt really brought justice to the role and brought some enjoyment of the character to me. Look, Ezra Miller just never did that on the big screen. So I'm happy that they've realized this and recognized this and decided to take another direction with this. I wish him the best, but if this is the case, hey, let's move on and go forward. And this leads me to believe even more so now, Titanium, that whether it's that movie or something, there's a big reset button coming for the DC universe.
Oh, I'm sure.
Especially
with the merger of Warner Brothers and Discovery. So they've already said that. They're looking for a Feige type guy to run we've talked about it on the show several times, to run that whole DCEU. And reboot it, which would be great. A lot of people want Zack Snyder to kind of take the reins.
It very may well be a soft reboot in that, they could use the Flash movie since there's time travel and, kind of the paradox engine of, what happens if I go back and change things in the past? Does it change the future? That type of thing. They can use that as a reset button and say, hey, when I come back after changing all these things in the past and reset the timeline, I come back. Maybe Jason Momoa is still Aquaman. Maybe, Henry Cavill's still Superman. I don't know any of these things, but maybe that is the case. But I'm now different when I came back.
Yeah.
Right? Who knows?
Who knows?
I look, DC is in a world of hurt, man.
Oh.
And they are, unlike Marvel, COVID ran roughshod across this entire industry, but it seems like Marvel's at least doing their best to kind of sustain themselves through it.
Yeah.
DC has just been ravaged.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your impressions or your hopes for the Black Adam movie have been diminished based on all the stuff that's going on.
Absolutely, 100%. I still want to see the movie. I'm still excited about it, but I do not think it's the movie that I want it to be. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? That's kind of a fucked up statement, but I do not think it's the movie I want it to be. And that being said, that movie should launch DC to another level and put it up. But to be honest with you, it was like a Shazam type movie. And I loved Shazam, and I'll probably like this too, but it wasn't groundbreaking like Joker or Logan or even the Batman, Matt Reeves' Batman. It wasn't that type of movie that I thought it was going to be for DC. So we'll see. Yeah, you're right.
You know,
in the world of hurt.
After this last trailer came out, I think you and I were both disappointed, and it seems like they were very quick to make this a redemption story movie of the anti-hero character of, he's bad, but he's really good deep down inside. And I would have rather him been a villain for 96% of this movie.
Yes.
And then at the end, give him reason to to kind of display some sense of justice in him and good, and say, deep down, this is a bad dude and a bad character, but he does have some good in him, and there's a reason why it came out or needs to come out at this point in time in the movie. I would have rather had that. Like, I would have rather had them trying to fight this guy forever.
Kill him. Yeah, for 90% of the movie.
Very similar to Loki. I mean, Loki was the villain in the Avengers, right? He was the villain in that movie.
Yeah.
He was the villain in Thor. He was the villain in so many movies. And then ultimately, he had some inner struggles and realized, I can't keep being like this, and I got to be in the Loki television series kind of redeemed him a little bit, but that was years down the road.
Yes, I agree.
It seems like Black Adam is just really going to be, he's bad, but he's really good.
Again, a Shazam type family show, and I wanted it to be edgier and darker. That was my mistake.
We reserve judgment because, look, we love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's fantastic. And we know how much he loves this character and wants to bring this character to the big screen. And he'll knock it out of the park as far as portraying the role is concerned. Whether the plot and the storyline support what we're hoping for, we'll
fingers crossed.
We'll see, right?
Did you also hear that the Joker 2 has been greenlit as a fucking musical?
Lady Gaga supposedly playing Harley Quinn.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, let's talk about Jump the Shark. What the fuck is DC thinking? I hope that's a joke. I don't mind Lady Gaga in this.
No, she's proven that she
great.
can play.
I think it'd be amazing.
Dramatic roles on the big screen.
But a musical? What the? Is that for real?
That's the announcement. Is that Joker 2's been greenlit and it's going to be a musical. And you know what? The first one was iconic. It was fantastic.
It was
Joaquin
awesome.
Phoenix won a freaking Oscar for the movie.
Fantastic.
Right? So,
and now they're going to make number 2 a musical? Come on. Come on.
And then we get to see it on Broadway for many years afterwards. Or
is that what it is? Longevity? I mean, come on. I don't know.
I literally, if you want to alienate the comic book fandom community, make a musical. That's the way I'm looking at it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, remember the Rogers the musical that was in the Hawkeye series?
Oh,
how horrible that scene was at the end of the show when they showed us the whole thing.
The after credit scene,
and then how
disappointed
Jeremy Renner's like rolling into the eyes in the theater, like, oh my god, are you kidding me?
Yes.
Like, if we had to watch that,
awful.
I know. No, you're right, and look, again, this movie won many Oscars and was nominated for many more than it won, and so who knows? But yes, I saw it and I was like, wow.
Let's move on because I don't want to fucking talk about that anymore.
All right, let's go. So we've got Disney Plus announcing a huge announcement this past week. They're making a Disney Plus series about Wonder Man. I am so excited about this. There were so many allusions to this character in the WandaVision series.
Yes.
There were, and again, a little comic book history for everybody. Wonder Man was a character on the Avengers, one of the earlier characters on the Avengers. He's an actor. Just happens to have superpowers.
Well, wasn't he also a stunt guy, a stunt coordinator, or
stuntman?
Stuntman, yeah.
He was a stuntman, but then he ended up becoming like a massive actor.
Yeah.
And there were actually some scenes that were filmed. I can't remember for what movie it was. Where Nathan Fillion,
Guardians of the Galaxy,
yes, was going to be playing
Wonderman.
The Wonderman character. But anyway, factors massively, and this is why we were assuming that we might see Wonder Man, or at least have some allusions to Wonder Man in WandaVision, because Vision, his brain patterns were patterned after Wonder Man, and so Wonder Man had this crush on Wanda when they were in the Avengers together, and so when Vision was created by Ultron, he used the brain patterns of Wonder Man to create Ultron, and then that love or kind of desire he had for Scarlet Witch kind of came out in the Vision character because of Wonder Man. And then when Vision was destroyed many years later, and they had to bring him back as White Vision, and he was kind of like a cold, kind of emotionless
symbiote robot.
Right. They asked Simon Williams, Wonder Man, if they could use his brain patterns again to kind of bring back his personality. He's like, no, I'm not letting you do that again. No, I didn't agree to it the first time. I would agree to it the second time. It's crazy. But the fact they're making a Wonder Man show on Disney Plus is fantastic. Again, rumors abound that this Wonder Man show will also feature the Scarlet Witch, and the White Vision.
Wow.
So this is possibly how Vision gets his emotions back and memories back and everything else. Who knows what they're doing. But we do hear that we're going to get the Scarlet Witch and White Vision in the Wonder Man series, which would be fantastic. I mean, I just think it would be so awesome. I mean, literally, comic book nerds unite. I mean, this is like exactly what we've been asking for many years. And then we hear that we're going to get a Scarlet Witch full-length movie after this series. And so Elizabeth Olsen will show up in the Wonder Man Disney Plus series, and then ultimately get her own full-length movie after that. So we assume she was still alive somehow, some way. We'll figure that out when this show comes out. They'll probably put some backstory behind it. But this is great news. I'm so excited about this. It's a character that's never been portrayed on the big or small screen anywhere. Rich history in the comic books. I'm just dying to see this. This is great. This is fantastic.
It'd be interesting. He's definitely a not very well-known character in the Marvel, like for the general public, for super geeks. He's very well-known because he's kind of like one of those the key stones in the building of the Marvel universe. But his powers, what are his powers? Doesn't he's like super durable.
Ionic energy. So he's fueled by ionic energy. That's how his powers, and he's super strong. You know, he's super durable. Like he's basically kind of like an indestructible strong guy, right? You know, and
but he has telekinesis too. There's something else.
His powers have kind of morphed over the years, and there's been some things he can do and can't. I mean, that's changed depending on who's writing the character. But yeah, I mean, he's just a super strong, like, you know, durable kind of. I would say like a smart Hulk, you know, basically, but not quite as strong as a Hulk. But you know, he's just a big, strong dude, right? They called him Wonder Man, and again, he was an actor, so he's a good-looking guy who could kind of like, you know, he was in the movies, and then he was a superhero part-time, you know, and it's just a really rich character. I think they can draw upon. It'd be really
awesome.
Cool. We'll have to. The closer we get to that, when we learn more about that,
we'll do a whole review of him.
Yeah, I assume we'll probably be hearing some more information. This was an official announcement by Marvel, so I you know, it's not a big secret. But I'm sure this is something they'll be discussing and talking about at Disney Plus Day in September. Yeah. And maybe we get a casting announcement, which would be
that'd be awesome,
spectacular as well. I
think we're going to get. I mean, even Kevin Feige has come out and said that within the next couple of months, you at the close of Phase 4, you're going to get more information about the upcoming saga that's being developed, which you think is
Secret Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
exactly.
We feel they're marching towards that direction with all of the conversions, you know, and the multiverse kind of stuff they've been doing. So we think the Secret Wars is going to be the next thing that they're
big
working
saga.
on. Yeah.
And we'll get that announcement soon. That's what he said.
I hope so. I mean, I think it's important because when they originally announced they were doing Infinity War, I believe that was at Comic-Con when they did that. That was several years out in the future. It was like 4 years out in the future, and but they had all these movies that were leading up to that. Right?
Yeah.
All the projects that were leading up to Infinity War were like, they're doing Infinity War? Because they had teased at Thanos and some of the movies and everything else, and they're doing Infinity War. Oh my God, they're doing Infinity War. This is fantastic.
They called it the Infinity Saga early on. Yeah.
Right. I think it's important for them to set a kind of a benchmark or an endpoint of where they're going.
Looking forward to it,
and then understanding that each one of the movies that and Disney Plus shows now that are kind of leading up to that are feeding into that project. I think that'd be huge for them. So
I think we're going to get it.
Yeah, I hope so. We did also get our first look at some of the Wakanda Forever pictures. So there have been some, we'll say, strategic releases by Marvel of content about Wakanda Forever. Again, this movie comes out later this fall. It is the next big project in Marvel's slate.
What do you think about the trailer? Come on, hit me with something good about the fucking trailer, Professor. I know you know.
Well, the rumor now is that the trailer will be attached to Thor: Love and Thunder, likely coming out the Tuesday prior to Thor: Love and Thunder, just like they've done in the past. So,
awesome.
Anytime they attach a new trailer to a movie, it usually comes out and is officially launched the week prior to it being in the theater. So we'll see it like that Monday or Tuesday. The premiere for Thor: Love and Thunder will likely be on Monday evening. Usually before that week of the release. Tuesday morning, they'll probably release the Wakanda Forever trailer online, and we'll be able to watch it, and then it will be in the theaters with the movie when Thor: Love and Thunder comes out. That's the rumor that we're hearing now. Again, you see some of the indications that again, this movie's been in the can for a while. They know they've been done with it for a long time. Unlike Thor: Love and Thunder, Ryan Coogler hasn't come out and said, "Oh my gosh, I got to finish the movie. I got so much work to do." No, they've been working on this pretty heavily for a long time, and I think they're excited to kind of at least give us some first images of what's coming out in the movie.
Yeah.
So we did get some behind the scenes kind of stills from the movie set and kind of images from the actual picture itself. Saw Shuri's costume. Saw what's the Dora Milaje woman's name? I can't always.
Kia?
You nailed it. No, you got it.
Not even close. You don't even know it.
Nailed it.
Okia?
You got it.
No.
Yeah.
Not even.
But they have images, and it looks really great. I mean, the costuming's fantastic. I think they're promoting or continuing to promote this high tech Wakanda society, and how advanced they are. Not only the technology they use, but the fashion they wear and things like that. So it looks fantastic. We know we're going to see Riri Williams as a character who's going to have her own series, and Ironheart on Disney Plus is going to be introduced in this movie. We know Namor's coming to the movie. We've got some
I'm most excited about.
Kind of insights into how that character is going to be introduced. That Riri Williams potentially develops some technology that threatens the Atlantean kind of society and maybe puts them at risk, and that's why Namor theoretically. Namor maybe loses his parents in the movie, and there's all kinds of other stuff that we don't know about the plot. But look, I'm excited for a trailer. I think this movie's going to do very well. We're excited to see what they do with the Black Panther character, as well as with this franchise going forward. We know there are at least a couple of Wakanda-based projects in the works for Disney Plus as well in the future. So, Ryan Coogler's painting kind of this Wakanda-based, I'll say kind of... community of characters that he can draw upon and create new series from. So they have big plans for this. And I think
there's rumors that Bast, the
Panther Goddess,
the Panther Goddess is going to be in this. We saw a little clip of her in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. There's a lot of pressure on this movie, Professor. They've come out publicly saying that they're not going to recast T'Challa, which is the king of Wakanda, the Black Panther himself. Chadwick Boseman died a horrible loss for the community and for the franchise, and they're not going to recast him. So they're still going to have a Black Panther, people. It just, how are they going to do that? Who is going to be the next Black Panther? Will there be multiple? Would it be Shuri? Will it be this? Will it be that? I mean, that whole storyline I'm excited to see, and they have to get it right. That's
Okoye.
There you go. What did I say? Aqua.
Nakia was the other character who I believe that they're potentially saying that it's possible that Black Panther and Nakia had a child, and that may be the future of the Black Panther franchise.
Yes, that would make sense. I said that the last time. I think I brought that up the last time. I thought that would be the good go-to for that, and it would still be that bloodline.
We'll see. I mean, it's very important. I think again, Chadwick Boseman's passing is tragic in so many ways, because not only is the Black Panther an incredibly important character in Marvel history, and he did such a great job with that character, and it really just fit with what they were doing in the MCU.
Yeah.
And gosh, to lose that actor and that character that tragically was just so devastating. But I have faith in Ryan Coogler. He hit it out of the park. I mean, as we know, Black Panther was wildly accepted across multiple cultures of just this fantastic film. It was nominated for several Oscars, did very well in the box office. I do have faith in him. I think he's an incredibly talented director and writer, and I really think that he wants to do justice to this character in this franchise. So I trust in him. I think he's going to do a good job.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, agree.
We've got another thing this week, massive casting rumors about Fantastic Four. Now, obviously, the John Krasinski rumors continue after his portrayal in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Is he going to continue on as the main character in that franchise, or was it a one-time, one and done, or is he potentially going to come on as director and somebody else is going to be cast in that role? There's so much rumor out there right now. But we did get some interesting news this week that leads us to believe there may have already been castings for these characters that we don't know of. One of the sources that was cited was IMDb. So there's a lot of trades out there and industry insiders and some rumors that get thrown around of who might be casting these roles. And you always have to take those with a grain of salt, because some people are trying to scoop. Some people are just trying to be the first to the press, and they really don't know anything. And sometimes it's true.
Doesn't matter if you're right. It just matters if you're first.
Exactly. So there's a lot of that. Right. There's a lot of that goes on in Hollywood. Now, IMDb is very interesting. It's not like Wikipedia, where like you and I can go on Wikipedia and update stuff, right? IMDb, the only people that can update IMDb information are the individual actors themselves, or their agents, or people inside of Hollywood who are in charge of projects, right? So IMDb, there's a page in IMDb that lists all of the actors and actresses that are part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and on that page, 2 new actors showed up that are attached to 2 roles that we've never seen in the MCU. One being the Human Torch, the other one being the Invisible Woman. So the Human Torch. The name that was attached in IMDb is Rudy Pankow. He was in a series called Outer Banks, so I'm sure your daughter and my daughter and every other teenager out there.
Cool kid, he's perfect.
Yeah,
he's
knows
perfect.
Who this kid is. Good-looking kid, young actor.
Great actor.
I think this fits what I think Marvel is trying to do with this franchise, is find young, unknown commodities and make them known. They've done this so many times in the past, like Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans, and guys that just had small bit parts in other movies, and all of a sudden they become these superstars. I think this is just a home run if they do it this way, and I hope they do.
If they got this kid as a Human Torch, Johnny Storm,
right?
Huge win.
He looks the part. He seems the part. If it's true, I think it's great. And then you combine him with, let's just say it is a John Krasinski as the Mr. Fantastic, and maybe they cast another well-known actor to play the Thing. You then have kind of bookend, kind of known people playing roles. Very similar to what they did with the original Fantastic Four movies they did on Fox. You had Jessica Alba, who was a superstar at the time. Yeah. And then you had, who played the Thing, the guy from Hill Street Blues.
The Shield.
The Shield and Hill Street Blues. What the heck was his dad? But yeah, he was huge. I mean, at the time, and so you had two well-known actors, and then you had two kind of relatively unknowns. And
Chris Evans. Yeah.
I think you do that with this. It's great. So anyway, this guy Rudy Pankow, potentially from Outer Banks, potentially as the Human Torch, and then Elizabeth Lail was rumored to be cast as the Invisible Woman. She's from
Smoke Show.
She was on Gossip Girl in a supporting role.
Gossip Girl,
yeah, in a supporting role. So.
She was on another show too. My daughter, I was telling my daughters about this, and she was on another show that they watch. I can't remember the name of it, but it's one of those streaming teenage girl shows.
Right, but young actress, as you mentioned, beautiful, as you can expect for somebody who's playing Sue Storm. But again, two young actors who I think would play well as brother and sister.
Yeah,
right. They would fit in that role. I mean, if this is the case. I'm happy with it. I'm totally happy with it.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, we got another casting announcement that Marvel has cast Dakota Fanning in an unnamed role in the MCU.
Oh.
And so this was another rumor that came out, or not rumor, this was an announcement that Dakota Fanning has been cast as in an unnamed role.
Interesting.
In the MCU. Very similar to what we had with Keanu Reeves not too long ago. Hey, Keanu Reeves is coming to the MCU. You don't know what he's playing, right? So Dakota Fanning has been cast. Now, Dakota Fanning is blonde.
Yeah.
Is fairly young, but not too young. She's in her 30s. She obviously has been an actress.
She could be married to Reed Richards
John
in his
Krasinski,
40s. Yeah.
Right. So that's what we were talking about. I don't
like her as Sue.
I don't either.
Right.
But I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that she's playing Sue Storm, but there's thoughts that she might be. I think that they've got other plans for her, so we'll see. But
that's interesting. Great actress.
Oh yeah,
huge star.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
it's somebody who's been in Hollywood for most of her life. I mean, she started off as a child actress, probably at the age of 7 or 8. She was in War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise.
She was a small girl.
Oh, she was tiny. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So,
what would you say? Great actress. What would you say? What would you guess if not a Sue Storm?
I don't know. I mean, I'd really have to look at the projects that are upcoming for Marvel to kind of really attach her to a specific role. I mean, I really couldn't even guess right now whether it's a hero or a villain. I have no idea. Maybe it's the love interest in the Nova series that's coming to Disney Plus. We don't know. We just don't know. So
cool.
Yeah. So that really big rumor there. So. All right, well, let's get into our topic of the week this weekend. And, of course, like every week, it's brought to us by our friends over at Studio G Studios. Home of the Man Band, Corn on the Cob.
G Studios.
Go visit their page, please.
Home of the Man Band.
It's in the show notes, and we appreciate any attention you can give over to those guys because they do a lot for us. So
absolutely. Thank you, guys. We love you. Love you guys.
So our topic of the week this week is, again, our Episode 5 review of The Boys. Wow. This show just does not disappoint. Yeah. Every single week when I turn this show on, I'm blown away by what they do on this show every week. I mean, it literally is just so awesome. And so this week, obviously, we had last episode really focused on the boys heading over to Russia to try to find this quote-unquote weapon. They found out there wasn't a real weapon, but they found Soldier Boy, who was like kind of, in stasis or whatever, had been experimented on by the Russians. And we got more backstory to that this week. Mother Milk was watching a video that he had taken back from Russia of the Russians experimenting on him when he was in their custody. And what they were doing to him... They were like, we're testing the durability of his skin. And it seems to be internal and external. They're like putting like a machine gun into his mouth and just like firing it off and watching the bullets bounce off the back of his throat. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah. They try to stab him with a scalpel in his eye, his opened eye. Crazy.
And they were saying that they had like, fed him like acid and were like, irradiating him, like, subjecting him to radiation.
Yeah.
And they were showing that he was still like, emitting radiation even after
That's how they could locate him, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, this was like what they were doing to this guy was like insane. So, the boys are a little bit reeling from coming back from Russia, having quote unquote failed. They really don't know where they're going next. And we know now that Homelander has ousted Stan Edgar and he's now in charge of Vought. And boy, is he ruling with an iron fist. He has his first board meeting, and he's threatening the life of every board member who kind of speaks out against him, and even maybe intimates that he doesn't know what he's doing. And he's made Ashley the CEO now, and she's like so bubbly happy that she's now kind of
terrified and bubbly happy.
Oh my gosh! So we got that whole thing going on, and Starlight has no idea what to do anymore. She's like, "Look, we tried. My friend on the team, who's my ex-boyfriend, got completely mutilated. Yeah. She confronted A-Train, and he's just like, look, I got to do what I got to do for me." And it's really bad on the 7 right now and inside of Vought. But the boys are like reeling. They're like, what the heck? And so Butcher's kind of like really depressed and just doesn't know what to do next. And he decides to go on a bender, and he's in his office, and he's like drinking, and Maeve shows up to he asked her for some more of the Compound V, temporary Compound V experimental drug that they had that gave them powers temporarily because they had used it all. And she comes over to deliver it. And then she decides to break her sobriety and starts drinking with Butcher, and then the two of them hook up.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I kind of saw it coming, but didn't see it coming type of thing. One of those like, yeah.
This temporary Compound V is kind of addicting. Like they're kind of addicted to it, and it lasts more than 24 hours. Do you think it's going to give them?
It lasts yes, it's like a day and change, and we saw the scene of Huey like puking after the last time he took it. He's like puking up just like this green fluorescent,
But
stuff.
they were getting pretty physical, and Butcher wasn't like in winching and pain and stuff, and she's got superhuman strength. So I think he's kind of a little more durable than he used to be.
Who knows?
It was pretty good.
We'll kind of see where that goes. But
let's talk what happened to Maeve later on.
Well, she ends up getting confronted by Homelander. That there was kind of a real interesting, I'll say, dual scenes going on. So what Titanium's alluding to is Maeve and Homelander have a conversation. They were a couple when the 7 was first formed, and Maeve was kind of forced into this relationship, very similar to what Starlight's going through right now. Right. Maeve was kind of forced into this relationship with Homelander. He claims it was, consensual and physical and all this other things. And, she basically tells him that, look, I never loved you. I hated you from the beginning, and he knows this, right?
Yeah.
But
she comes out and literally provokes him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And then Black Noir shows up and grabs her, and then they send her off to a...
we don't know what happened to her.
Well, we
don't know where she is.
She's been sent off to a rehab facility,
right?
Which leads into the next episode, which we'll kind of allude to here in a minute. But they sent her off to a rehab facility. But this is a dichotomy to what's going on with Soldier Boy. So, Soldier Boy, we find out he is now in New York City. Somehow he gets to New York City, and he's walking the streets, and he's like, it's very reminiscent of the scene of Captain America in Times Square when he woke up from being frozen, right?
Right.
And it's Soldier Boy walking around, seeing all these signs and seeing all this stuff. He's like, what the hell is going on? Well, then he has one of his moments. He hears some Russian music playing on a radio.
It triggers him.
And it triggers him, and all of a sudden he explodes, has one of his nuclear explosions, and blows up the corner of the city block, destroys a bunch of people. And so the boys are like, oh, that's got to be him.
Yeah, they see it.
And they go out there. They're now on a mission to try to find Soldier Boy. And they go down there, and it's Butcher and Huey kind of trying to figure out what's going on. And Mother Milk shows up there, had seen it on the news and figured it was him as well. And Mother Milk has a vendetta because Soldier Boy killed his family, so he wants to kill Soldier Boy.
Yeah.
So the three of them decide to work together to find him. Mother Milk takes them all to go see the Legend, which
is an ex-CEO of Vought that they used to work with back in the day. He used to run.
He ran
the superheroes.
He ran the superhero division of Vought. So this is the Legend is kind of an anagram. It's Stan Lee. It's the boys' version of Stan Lee. So imagine the guy who's been around forever, who knows everything and anything about these superheroes.
Yeah.
They kind of make him kind of a character just like the Stan Lee type of character. He's talking about all these famous women who he slept with back in the 70s and 80s.
Pictures of all these famous people on the walls. Yeah.
Right, he's been through all the parties and he knows all these
Who's
things.
that actor?
Oh, it's Steve...
Steve or Paul?
Paul Reiser.
Paul Reiser, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
He played it great.
Yeah, Paul Reiser plays him in the show. And, he's talking about, hey, back in my day, I was sleeping with Shannon Tweed, and, all this. It was hysterical. But they basically forced them. Soldier Boy had come to see him because he knew where he lived, and he gave him his old costume. And he's like, look, I admit, I'm softy for the old days, and I don't know where he's going, but I'm sure he's going to go see his girlfriend, right? And so, which is the Crimson Countess. And so Butcher and Huey and Mother Milk decide to set a trap for Soldier Boy, knowing that he's going to come see the Crimson Countess. And they basically capture her, or they kind of, we'll say, subdue her so she can't use her magic. And they're like, look, Soldier Boy's coming here to kill you, And she's like, oh, yeah, he's definitely going to kill me, Yeah. And because she knows that...
She betrayed him.
Right?
Yeah.
And very similar to the scene we had with Homelander and Maeve, Soldier Boy does come there, and he goes in to confront the Crimson Countess, and she basically says almost exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I never loved you.
I never loved you. I hated you. We all hated you. We were out to get you from day one.
Jeez.
And he's just like, okay. And then he basically explodes and blasts her again, and she's like in a crisp.
Yeah.
But interesting part of that scene is a couple of things. Mother Milk obviously wants to kill Soldier Boy, and Butcher knows this, but he knows they need Soldier Boy, so he subdues Mother Milk. He basically drugs him. He roofies him in his water so that he can't kill him. And then he makes a deal with Soldier Boy. He's like, I think it's about time we team up. We're called a team up. You and us will kind of work together to kind of get at the people who are kind of after us. So
he wants to get back at the people that did this to him.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So he's out on a revenge.
Be careful what you wish for is all I'm saying. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you can see where the show's going with this, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to portray Soldier Boy as the solution to the Homelander problem.
But he's a psycho too.
Right. And I just don't think this is going to end well.
No.
There's no way they get rid of Homelander, but...
Well, they've already greenlit season 4.
Right.
They can't get rid of him in season 3. I mean, he is a mega star on that show.
Well, and the reason why they have a feeling that this might work is the other part of the show. This episode this week is we saw at the end of last episode, Kimiko was blasted by Soldier Boy with his
lost
new
all of her powers. Yeah,
and she was her healing factor was gone, and she was in dire
she's not
threat
strong.
of dying, right? And she was she wasn't healing, and they had to take her to the hospital. They flew her home from Russia and rushed her into the hospital, and Frenchie's been sitting by her side the whole time. Well, she ends up waking up, and she realizes her powers are completely gone.
And she's ecstatic.
She's happy, because she's always said, I wish I just didn't have these powers. And so not only she doesn't have her healing factor, but she like picks up this big heavy thing. She's like, it's not heavy anymore. This is heavy.
Yeah, I can't pick it up.
I can't pick it up.
Yeah.
And she realizes her powers are completely gone. So it seems like Soldier Boy's new powers have the ability to like burn the compound V completely out of the body of whoever he blasts with this, right? So
take the powers away.
She's extremely happy, and she feels like she can just lead a normal life now. All the while, Frenchie is being confronted by his old boss, little Nina, who. She's like, look, you still owe me a debt. And he's like, wait a minute, Butcher paid off all my debts and everything. And she said, no, you're not done working for me.
Right.
You need to go kill this person, So it seems like they're painting a picture of Frenchie's going to get in trouble and nobody can save him except for Kimiko. And the only way for her to do it is for her to get her powers back. So she might have to take Compound V again.
Oh.
So we'll see where that goes, but
interesting.
We know that's the reason why they feel that Soldier Boy might have.
And this was probably one of my least favorite episodes so far, and it was great. I mean, it was still really good.
It was awesome.
But people buckle up, and when I say buckle up, put on your fucking helmet, buckle your chin strap, put the seatbelt on twice if you have to, double it up. I mean, make sure your shoes are tied because next episode is Herogasm.
And that's where we feel that where Maeve was sent, this compound or this rehab facility that she was taken away to and taken off to, is what we're going to see next week in Herogasm. It's like a place where they send superheroes who need a break from everything or need to get away or need a reset button or need to be reconditioned or whatever. Right. This is where they send them. And we feel that's where Maeve has been sent, and we feel that the other superhero is going to show up there. And Herogasm was a run in the boys' comic books, which was just complete debauchery and hedonism and everything else that you can imagine by superheroes. So we're expecting this next episode is going to be a barn burner.
Oh, buddy. It's going to be wild. They said that this episode is the freakiest one yet.
Oh, yeah. So remember the scene at the end of, I think it was season 2, where Homelander's up on top of the skyscraper, like jerking off, talking about how great he is. Like this is going to blow that away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be insane.
I can't wait. Hey, Professor, good episode. The bell is ringing. I can hear it in the background. School is over. Take us out, Professor.
All right, well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or at supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
And we're out.
Thanks, YouTube.
Thank you,
Keep
YouTube.
Good work.
Everyone likes this game. Haters gonna hate. And I know you can't wait to see the Black Viper.